Why should you use Marmalead for your Etsy SEO over the other options out there? How is Marmalead different? Or, for that matter, better? Stick around while we compare ourselves to the rest on this episode of The Jam. What is up? I'm Gordon from Marmalead.
I'm Richie from Marmalead.
And today we're going to be talking about Marmalead and how it compares with other keyword tools out there. There's no shortage of options to you as an Etsy seller for places you can go to find numbers about how keywords would perform for you. Now, we get asked a fair amount, why should I use Marmalead? There's other things out there. Why shouldn't I be using XYZ tool? Or perhaps someone is using XYZ tool and they're saying, how come your search number is this and this other tool tells me the search number is this? What's going on with that? We get this question, and today on The Jam, we're going to do our best to give you a very thorough answer to that question.
First of all, we want to acknowledge that, oh yeah, it's definitely confusing to use multiple tools. It's confusing to use multiple tools for just about anything. Could you imagine if you were keeping your financial books in 3 different tools or doing your taxes in 3 different tools every year? It'd be very confusing. Also, combining good data with bad data isn't actually improving anything. So just because different things are saying something different and you're saying, hey, why are these different? Then yeah, you probably don't know what's going on behind that. And you're treating it all like they have the same data and the same analysis and like those things should be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we kind of step through this here, we're really looking at 2 key differences between Marmalead and other tools. And one would be how grades are presented inside of Marmalead versus other tools that might be trying to tell you a grade for your Etsy listings. And then the data. How is the data that we're showing in Marmalead different from data that arrives to you in another application? And so first of all, grading. It's important to remember that when you're looking at grading, just like you can't combine good data with bad data, you can't average out grades. So you couldn't look at, I have an A in Marmalead and a C in another application, so I have a B. It doesn't necessarily work that way. In order to figure out how the grade actually counts over here versus over here, you need to understand what is being graded in the first place.
So in Marmalead, what we're grading is Etsy best practices for SEO. We know this from their handbook. We know this from experience of what's actually going on. So that's what we're grading. We're not grading other things. And just so you know, the number of photos you have are not part of your grade. We get that question too. What we're using is what ourselves and others have found to be most impactful for the actual success of your listing. But yeah, just because you have an A doesn't mean it's going to be successful, but what we're trying to do is grade you in such a way that if you follow these best practices, you are going to be teed up for the best possible chance of success by using grades and the keyword tools we have.
So a lot of that comes from Etsy themselves and the seller handbooks that they put forward and telling sellers, here are the best practices and here's how you should set your listings up to perform best on Etsy. That's a fantastic source of information. Obviously, it's in Etsy's best interest to have sellers who create listings that are well set up for how their algorithm works and what their algorithm is expecting. And so while they can't spell everything out for you 100% of the way, because things are always changing, it's a great starting point, and they're sharing some really key things with you. And so we pull those into Marmalead, into our grading too, to make sure that, look, we're recommending the same thing that Etsy is recommending. Now, in addition to that, we look at what coaches in the space are seeing and what sellers are seeing and what seems to be performing inside of Etsy search. And so those things get weighted into the algorithm also for your grades.
Yeah, well, that's a good word you used right there too, weighted. So weightings, as far as like, the different categories or like metrics, basically like, okay, yes, this part, but it's not necessarily they're all weighted equally, right? They have different weights to them based on importance. And things we put in there, they're pretty unique to us, are long tail focus keywords. So we're going to make sure that you're using good long tail focus keywords, and we're going to put that in your grade. Long tail focus keywords, of course, are keywords that are found in both your tags and your title, and long tail being specific, being niche enough that there's actual buyer intent when searching that. And then of course title length, and not necessarily for SEO as much as we want to make sure that when somebody is searching on a mobile device, they're having a good experience and not getting cut off and aren't really sure what this listing title is, versus when they're on a desktop and they can see the full thing. So these are things that we find very important, and it's not just our judgment on that. It's, Etsy, it's coaches, it's seeing what is actually working.
Yeah, and this is a good opportunity to be clear too, that there are things on the listing details page inside of Marmalead that aren't part of your grade. There's a whole lot of things that are important to how well you've set up that listing and how much success we think you're going to have with it from a sales perspective and everything, but they aren't necessarily part of your grade. And title length is a good example of that. It's going to indirectly affect how your listing succeeds, but it's not something that Etsy has been shown to prefer listings with a shorter title, so we're not forcing you to use a shorter title. We do show you what your title looks like on mobile devices inside of search results and things like that because it's super trimmed down. Etsy really limits the number of characters that they pull back in a title there. Those are some grading differences that kind of exist between Marmalead and some of the other things that are out there. Now we're going to talk a little bit about data differences. And I will say too that the two most important things to us at Marmalead are the accuracy of our data and how well we're able to help individual sellers. We take customer support very seriously. And so if you reach out to us at success@marmalead.com, you're going to get an actual person who's actually going to be helping you with your specific situation and helping you make sense of the tool, set up your shop in a way that makes sense, and answer your questions that you have going on. And everyone's different. This is one of the beautiful things about Etsy is all shops are different. And so it kind of takes that very personalized level of support to be able to help people individually so that, you know, all Marmaleaders can succeed overall as a whole. It can't just be a blanket thing. And data accuracy, look, if we're not showing you accurate data, then Marmalead doesn't work in the first place. And so it's super important to us to make sure that the numbers that we're putting out on the screen are not only helpful to you, but also accurate and meaningful. We don't want to show you a bunch of numbers that aren't going to really help you with anything.
I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to the Jam by Marmalead. Marmalead helps guide you to keywords that real Etsy shoppers are using, so you can get more sales doing what you love. Check out Marmalead in the link in the description or at marmalead.com. So, along those lines with what you just said, Gordon, as far as our data accuracy and our customer support and us knowing that it's working, later on in the video, we'll share some of the reasons why we know with some actual numbers of how we've compared Etsy shops that use Marmalead to Etsy shops that don't. So stick around for that. But the other reason is, just to throw it out there, we know it's working because we have countless success stories that people are telling us in detail how it has worked. And that's been over the years. So we've got old ones, new ones, I mean, all of them. And it's fantastic. It's why we do it. The data that we show isn't just copied from other places that you can find it. We're not just showing you numbers for the sake of showing more numbers or just to try to make you feel good, okay? Because in the end, if we make you feel good by showing you numbers that go up and to the right now and you feel good, but then that success doesn't come, then you're gonna feel worse than if we just told you the truth right off. So we are not that company. All the data we show, we try to be unique. We try to not just take what's in Etsy stats that you can do and try to spin our own version of it. All the time we're saying, hey, this stuff you should be checking in Marmalead, and this stuff you need to go to your Etsy stats and then use that in conjunction with Marmalead.
One of the key things that separates our data from other applications is that we're showing you forecasts for how well we think a keyword is going to do over the next 30 days. If you open a different keyword search tool, they might be showing you the number of searches that a keyword got over the last 30 days, or maybe even over the last 12 months. Like here's a balanced average of how many searches this keyword saw over the last 12 months. Seasonality is a huge impact, so that's going to fluctuate over time. That's not necessarily going to help you. You don't want to be throwing a keyword on your listing that had an average of 500 searches, but only like 50 in March, right? March is not a good time to be putting that keyword on your listing. So it's important to have that. But it's also really important to be making sure that you're putting keywords on your listings that are going to perform well. It doesn't help necessarily to find keywords that did well last month. If I'm going to be putting those on my listings, I want to know how they're going to do in the next 30 days. And I think that's really important. That's a huge difference between Marmalead and some of the other tools that are out there. Now, how accurate are these forecasts, you may ask? Because if I'm trusting these things, I don't want like a weather forecast for my keywords. I want something a little bit more accurate than that. And so this is something that we test. We constantly are testing our forecast numbers that we're putting out there, and we aim for 95% accuracy. That's what we have achieved with our keywords, and so that's what we want to keep hitting with those things. Yeah, occasionally you're going to find a keyword that ends up not performing as it was forecasted, but overall, when we spot check thousands and thousands of keywords, we're at 95% accuracy, which we're very happy with.
And chances are, I mean, you're a successful keyword strategy, you're going to be using lots and lots of keywords in your shop anyway. So, 5% margin of error is not going to be very impactful for you for that matter. Because of the 95%.
And this could be one of those things where people will tell us, like, look, I've used this other thing, but I really didn't have any luck until I started using Marmalead. They might not necessarily understand why. I think the forecasts could be a huge part of that. If you're always looking at historical data and making decisions based on that, and all of a sudden you switch to data that's telling you what something's going to do, it makes perfect sense that that's going to be helping you a whole lot more than always looking behind.
All right, so to understand our data and where we're at now, we want to kind of talk about the evolution of data and where things started and kind of how it ended up where we are now. All right, so back when we first started, we started with the API where most tools start. This was years ago, and this was just, we were just baby SEOs. And we've since moved on to a more advanced source of data that big Google SEO tools use. We go ahead and we apply that same technique to Etsy. So we have definitely pioneered that in the space. This is not something that all tools are able to do, which is why we didn't start there. So sourcing and processing this amount of data is, expensive. Well, the Etsy API is like a dripping faucet, right? You're calling out to them, they give you a little bit of data back, and that's kind of it. Well, the data that we're talking about is like a river. Now you have to be able to do something with this river of data, okay? It's a lot, right? A lot to process. Not just, going to a different view on a number that you can already find in your shop. We live in this data. We grab as much data as we can from as many places as we can, and we make sure to bring meaningful insights that you can apply to your shop. That's what we put in our tools. And like we talked about forecast, 95% accuracy, we make sure that what we're doing is actually accurate, okay? Not just numbers for numbers' sake. Okay, here's some numbers, woo, have at it.
Yeah, and it all comes back to, data and customer support being real core to Marmalead. Like, we want to make sure we have the best data available to people, and we're showing it to you in the best way that we possibly can. It's always been a huge focus for us. And so Richie mentioned a while ago that how we know that Marmalead is actually helping people and actually working. We've crunched some numbers, and we were super excited by the results that we came back with. Obviously, there's success stories, and we love hearing success stories. It's always fantastic when one of those comes through and you kind of get like a moment of yes, we're rooting for you guys. It's awesome, and we love hearing that what our hard work is helping you guys succeed too. But we've been able to crunch some numbers and put some numbers behind it too, which is even better.
Yes. So let me show the first one. All right. So half of Marmalead customers outperform the average non-Marmalead shop by 7 times. So by 700%. That's a lot.
Yeah. And the top 10% of Marmalead customers outperform the average Etsy shop by 25 times.
That's pretty significant. All right. And then all shops who stay with Marmalead outperform the average Etsy shop by almost 4 times, or 400%.
If you're using Marmalead, you're almost guaranteed to be outperforming other shops in your market segment by 4 times, which is awesome. That's exactly the kind of success that we want to see for our customers. It's one thing to be using something to give you a little bit of a leg up on the competition, but man, for over half of Marmalead customers to be outperforming their markets by 7 times, they're crushing the competition. It's just awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love that. And the whole reason we put this stuff together was not, we've had these numbers for a while and we just haven't shared them. Because really the reason we put these together is so that we make sure that we keep tabs on that what we're doing is working, because we want to make sure that we're providing the best possible tools and that, what we're doing is working for you and making you successful. And then we're like, hey, we should probably actually share these numbers because it'd be good for, confidence-wise out there, good marketing, whatnot. There's no reason to keep them secret. So anyways, there you go. That's what we have. Of course, we've shared these numbers, but only you can determine if Marmalead is going to work for your shop, because as much as we said, like, hey, the shops that stick with Marmalead still 4 times, like, you do still have to do something with Marmalead. You can't just sign up and, that's done, right? You got to actually put in the work. So do that and give it a couple months. Dedicate your SEO time to it. Don't try to mix it with other data. Just dive in, do Marmalead, follow what the tools are saying, follow our guides, talk to success@marmalead.com if you're confused by anything, watch our videos, all that fun stuff, right? Dedicate to it. The learning curve for anything is going to be steep, but it's so much better than doing nothing. And I mean, you see that it's going to work.
Yeah, so there you guys go. There's kind of an overview of how Marmalead is different from the other things that are out there that might be trying to help you with your SEO on Etsy. Hopefully that clears up some stuff for you if you're wondering about grades or why the data numbers appear to be different in different tools that you're looking at. And hopefully we've convinced you to give Marmalead a shot. We want your shop to be successful and we want to help you through that. Like Richie said, if you have questions, reach out to us at success@marmalead.com. We're happy to help walk you through things and try to figure things out together. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time on The Jam.